I had an idea that just wouldn't let me go until I programmed it. My name is Satoshi Nakamoto. You don't know me, not yet, but my invention will change your life. By linking all computers, our lives were digitalized, reduced to a set of data that need only be collected and analyzed. Every word, every gesture, every transaction. The internet was transformed from a window onto the world into a means of control. A new economy was emerging. We would be its raw material. This new world would upend everything: our communications, our rights, our privacy. In the era of self-styled promotion, privacy is a revolutionary act, regardless of whether there is something to hide or not. Privacy is not secrecy. A private matter is something you don't want the world to know. A secret is something you don't want anybody to know. Privacy is the power to selectively reveal oneself to the world. Freedom. For us cypherpunks, freedom is non-negotiable. It tops everything. Freedom is our struggle. Eric Hughes said it in his manifesto back in 1993. Privacy is necessary for an open society in the electronic age. We cannot expect governments, corporations, or other large, faceless organizations to grant us privacy out of their beneficence. Cypherpunks write code. We know that someone has to write software to defend privacy, and since we can't get privacy unless we all do, we're going to write it.
How about sending your mom some nice flowers? All you do is click on Marketplace, we place an order.
And it's so easy. All you do is point, click.
America Online.
A giant virtual supermarket. That's what the internet promised us. But we saw something quite different. Control trade, and you control freedom. As the internet became a huge platform for trade, it needed a currency. Anonymous, counterfeit-proof, with no middleman. But there was an issue: double spending. On the internet, everything can be duplicated infinitely. Solving the double spending problem would help prevent fraud on the net. Copy and paste could no longer be an option. Without it, online commerce would be impossible. Sometimes the solution appeared to be within my grasp. Other times it appeared entirely out of reach.
Was the worst day on Wall Street since the crash of 1987.
This could be the most serious recession in decades.
What started in America last year has now spread to every part of the world.
The financial world collapsed. Its instruments, its rules, the creation of wealth, all one big fiction. A web of lies and opaque algorithms. The opposite of what I had been working on for years, an open, universal, well-ordered mathematical world. The Bitcoin code haunted me day and night.
Lehman Brothers had just collapsed. There had been massive bailouts. It was a huge, super stressful time period in the world.
And finally, the time had come. It worked. Cryptography had cracked double spending. Absolute transparency, guaranteed anonymity. Bitcoin was ready.
October 31st, 2008 is when he releases the white paper. And Satoshi waited for that exact moment because it sounded like he had completed Bitcoin a little bit before that and was waiting for the peak moment of despair in the financial markets to press the send button.
A technical scientific paper that described in just over 8 pages
the program was launched. I had won a victory against the banks, against state power. I had to be careful in the early days. I had a few allies, but it was a minefield. A handful of disciples does not make an army. Bitcoin was easy prey. What is the value of a new currency? It was valued at what it cost to produce it, $1 for 1,500 Bitcoins. Trust would then follow. The very first purchase was pizza, not drugs or weapons. Bitcoin could be used as a very ordinary currency, in everyday life, autonomously, and without a regulatory authority. The virtual world is not an encapsulated parallel world. It is actually closely connected to our world. Every digital action can touch real life. I did not create Bitcoin to protect criminals. I wanted free and autonomous transactions. And then Silk Road drove up the value of one Bitcoin to $30. That's when I decided to back away from the project. No more public posts. Only a few private emails to Bitcoin developers. I will only guide and advise, that's all.
I think Satoshi understood, and this is why he stayed pseudonymous. He knew that if there was a human behind the project, that would always be a weakness.
No one has power over Bitcoin, not even the founder.
Only an autonomous system can be free, and Hal understood this. Bitcoin isn't just a digital currency. It's a means to absolute independence.
The Bitcoin blockchain is the registry that records all Bitcoin transactions, and it's been that way since the very first transaction.
The more time passes, the more a transaction is secured by previous transactions. To modify one, you'd have to modify them all on thousands of computers. The system is not flawless, but almost. Protecting privacy has a price, a high price. Cryptocurrency opponents pretend not to know that the entire digital world lives at the expense of our planet. Every virtual act leaves traces in the form of digital pollution. My disappearance had unleashed my creation. The value of Bitcoin spiraled out of control. Bitcoin became an extremely volatile speculative asset because of fluctuations in supply and demand. One day you could buy a pizza for 1 Bitcoin. The next, you could buy a sports car. A bit too volatile for a currency. I had conceived Bitcoin as a limited resource from the beginning. The amount that can be mined is fixed and decreases little by little. One day the source will run dry.
He's one of the richest people in the world, and he's anonymous.
I was rich in Bitcoin, my own currency. But I couldn't touch it because then the trust I had so painstakingly built up would be destroyed.
The first million Bitcoin ever created have never been moved.
Which is insane. And not touch the money is a modern day Prometheus.
This million weighed heavily on me. I could have used it to control the value of Bitcoin and helped stabilize it by carefully buying and selling. I could have reclaimed my influence. My absence created a powerful center around which big egos and wild imaginations gathered, which was the opposite of what I wanted. Bitcoin should maintain its autonomy and people's trust at any cost. I had to force myself not to intervene despite the volatile price. My million had to stay just where it was. Countless scammers were trying to take my place. They copied the Bitcoin code. More and more cryptocurrencies appeared. Each made their own claim: micropayments, confidentiality, automated transactions. The demand for new currencies exploded, and it was just the start. Bitcoin is stateless, but behind it stands an army of computers, programmers, miners, users. It's useless to cut the heads off the Hydra. There are too many, and they would always grow back. I am never far away. In some form, under a different name, I continue to program. Data protection is the cypherpunk's mission. Bitcoin continues to grow. It's a currency, but it's also a capital investment, repository of value, and object of speculation. As soon as you understand it, it slips away again. I, Satoshi, wanted to create an alternative, to the banks, to the states, and the faceless mega companies. Freedom has to be fought for over and over again. That's what we're fighting for. Faster, more anonymous, more energy efficient. Everyone wanted to create a new, better Bitcoin, and to replicate its meteoric price in the process. The total market value of all cryptocurrencies at the beginning of 2018 was $800 billion. 800 billion. With my Bitcoin million, I joined the top 50 richest people in the world. My net worth was 44th, my virtual fortune. I gave the world the weapons it needed to protect privacy, but in doing so, I also provided a tool to those who wanted to tap into our data. Hungry for power, they use money as a means for absolute domination. Privacy has two great enemies, the internet giants and governments. Governments now are also proposing money from a digital central bank. These currencies would be issued centrally and based on debt, as they have forever. But there would be one difference. Digitalization would rob cash of a key property: anonymity.
Using these technical capabilities for surveillance is a major threat to privacy and individual freedom.
They are expanding their power at the expense of your privacy, your freedom. An ultra-centralized, opaque, traceable digital state currency that uses your data against you. That's precisely what cypherpunks had always feared. A nightmare. Understanding that the end of privacy is coming is one thing. Witnessing it is something else entirely.
What's surprising isn't that China is building a totalitarian financial surveillance system. They are a totalitarian society. What is surprising is that European authorities and American authorities and Japanese authorities are also considering, and in some cases gleefully anticipating, the eradication of cash and the ability to do surveillance and control of all financial payments from every point to every point.
How totalitarian a state has become could now be determined by the maturity of its digital currency. I am not who you think I am, not even close. I have carefully sketched a distorted, vague image, the opposite of my real self. I act alone or in a group. Does it matter? Bitcoin is collective by definition. It is the result of decades of research by a wide variety of people. Its code has been run on tens, hundreds, thousands of computers. And even today, this is how the project continues to grow. My name is Satoshi Nakamoto. You don't know me, not yet, but my invention will change your life.